What up, traders? What up, investors? Ken here from Dyslexic Investor, and thank you for joining for the actually second live stream we're doing today. This one kind of came out of nowhere, just on the sense of the overall market that's really kind of taking a little kapoopy here, and the mooning kind of going a little kaput, as they call it. Again, I know it's kind of late for some folks. Thank you again for joining. We're going to be jumping into some fantastic markets. Intel really took a dump that we can look at that as well. I'm actually looking at gold as well, a couple of those stocks going forth. AMD is looking really great. Again, we're going to kind of dive into the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, the overall ETFs like that, and seeing if could be some more pain coming. Again, anything can happen in the market. Just be very mindful of that, and things can change on a dime. Today was not a very pretty day, without a doubt, but there was, I think, quite a bit of profit taking and some more worry entering the market. You can see that with the rising of the VIX, as well with the rise of price of gold as well. These are just usually some hedges that people usually put on in the fact of potential some turmoil or some fear in the market coming up. We've seen this before. We'll just start kind of walking through some scenarios and just basically kind of walking through some guidelines of what we could see, and it again potentially could be going from what we see. Yet it has been what a red day, but there was some particular buying opportunities that I did a little bit of nibbling on. Let's go ahead and actually start looking at GLD. Let me get the screen out of the way for you folks. There we go. So you should be able to see my Thinker or my Tastyworks trading platform here. So this is what we use for all my charting stuff. That being said, we're looking at GLD. This is the S&P 500 Gold Trust ETF. So this is basically kind of helps track gold. And what I was just currently doing was actually going to a very long-term monthly chart, and we saw the all-time high basically at 185, and we're getting somewhat close to that, just ever so slightly. So we can kind of here do a quick Fibonacci, and of course it didn't click to the toppy top here. This is very important that it clicks there. Thank you. So from the previous swing high to low, we can see here that we've hit some pretty remarkable levels, almost hitting the all-time high that we saw in gold there. Basically that was in the September of 2011. Had a huge run up on gold, and especially with gold doesn't really move like extremely rapidly, so a trend is usually set in place. As again we're looking here on a monthly chart. Be mindful of that, and it's been holding between the 5 and 8, and just holding that 21 kind of came down here again due to the overall that was the financial crisis. We can see on what happened, but it just really, after that happened, that crash, it really took forth, and people really didn't let go of gold for quite some time until that top basically here we see in September, October of 2011, and then it's kind of just traded sideways and then took a little of a dump. Could this be happening again? I don't know, but it's something to be mindful of. Again, basically we're still holding at 5 and 8 exponential moving average here on the monthly chart. Again, this is a monthly chart, so it takes a lot of time for these to work out. Potentially looking for the 185 target, insinuating some potential rough roads ahead for the overall market. But we'll see on how that continues to go. But this looks pretty powerful in the sense of the chart, so we'll see on how things kind of react from that. So yeah, Gaines makes a good point of there's not, again, not getting too political, but there's a lot of things on the overall markets. There's still the talks about the no vaccine, talks about particular unemployment stuff going not as being cut down and downsized with their overall cost of everything. So that could be somewhat scary for some folks, uneasy. Again, we're not seeing a lot of recovery in especially the airlines, hotels, and basically entertainment. So we kind of see here, so we're talking about the 2011 kind of time frame, so that September, October, we saw we kind of came out of that very sharp bottom here. So we can kind of, so first and foremost, I don't want to compare the 08-09 crash to the overall pandemic we just saw. So just be super mindful of that. and I don't want anyone to assume of if this happened, that means it needs to happen again. That's usually doesn't the way it works. It's usually history doesn't repeat, it rhymes, so it has the same kind of a yin and yang to it, in the sense of it's kind of in the same ballpark and sometimes in the same stadium, in that lack of better words. Does that make sense for everyone, I hope? But we're currently seeing, like with the S&P 500, a pretty large uproar. We do have that parabolic SAR switching from the bottom to the top. Again, this is a monthly chart, a super long monthly chart. So this takes a long time for it to play out. I can see some potential just trading sideways here, potentially seeing a little bit of volatility here and there, but this is still, what we saw today wasn't anything too cray-cray in the sense of a sell-off or really much selling, because you can see here on the weekly side, it's still considered somewhat of an uptrend. And then on the daily side, again, if you've watched the channel for more than 5 to 10 minutes, we know that on the daily side, if you're slightly short-term swing trading to slightly longer time, you're looking for the 21 or 34, sometimes even the 50-day here, to kind of be your guiding light to see what's going on, especially with the S&P 500 being down not as much as some other stocks. So we're looking at Apple, and of course Tesla really kind of didn't do too hot as well with the overall market, especially the NASDAQ got hit much harder again with the overall tech section really getting rolled today. So when the S&P 500, we're still between that 5 and 8 exponential moving average. That's still somewhat doable and reasonable, but we could see this continue to come down, and I have a marker at 320. That breaks 320 with a lot of volatility. We could see 317, 315 to the downside even more. So just be mindful of those parameters of what could happen, because again, it's going to be a lot of emotion. So it's usually the best way to say it, if we're just looking at the ETFs, of like, it's usually a nice steady eddy or a staircase up, and what they call an elevator down, where it's just usually can be cut really fast, and usually the emotions of losing money is just so much faster than slowly grinding up. So you're gonna, that emotion to sell or the red candles are usually much more greater and faster than you see on the upward perspective. You're long a little silver. Yeah, I think silver is going to be not as fast moving as gold, because again, I think silver's SLV is like at $21, and of course GLD or gold's pretty highly valued up there. Kelly D on NTC. You bought or you sold, Kelly? You sold those puts or you bought those puts? Again, I don't know if it can hold the 322. Again, it looks like it wants to. We can see on how it plays out tomorrow. But again, I don't have a crystal ball. No one has a crystal ball. We just kind of have to let the market do what it wants to do, and we're just here to kind of ride it out. We'll see on the overall understanding again. We just broke out of this range and now kind of coming back into it, and that's usually slightly line of a line of somewhat like a, not like a, oh snaps, we're going to go back down to the trend line and things like that, but we could be seeing coming down to the 21. Just be mindful that that really could come up, that's really a thing that could happen, and there's could be a lot of shakeups in the overall market with the S&P 500. So let's go ahead and look at the QQQs. So this one actually came down to the 21. I know that it has hit the 21 in the past, and it has made a pretty strong rebound. Not saying that this can't happen tomorrow, but being mindful of that, hey, this was a pretty steep down day. Maybe there's something else that we're not seeing currently in the market, and we need to be a little wary of, and could be maybe taking some concerns. If this closes tomorrow below the 21, that especially the NASDAQ, I would have to start rolling or getting out of some of my tech stocks. And again, a lot of my positions are a little bit longer term options and stock, but I would still need to cut a little bit just to be a little bit on the safe side. I'm not normally going to buy puts or try to protect my hedge with buying VIX calls or anything like that. I think for me that hasn't worked out in the past, so we'll see how that continues to go. I saw the Modernum's issues with patent stuff. I didn't quite understand it. I just think that they're kind of a crap show over there right now. It's not really unclear what's really going on, and it's just like too many question marks kind of floating out of their building for me. ABS. What is that? The stock A? So this is the. I think this is what came down to, again, that particular of like, hey, we could see a sell-off. I don't know. This is usually something so difficult to look at. Again, this is what I don't like to trade. I don't like to trade very heavily FOMO mentalities trades. So this is used to be literally a penny stock a couple weeks ago, and now it's just like going through the roof. This is 100% FOMO, 100% of the fear of people trying to again, if you don't know what FOMO means, is the fear of missing out. So being very careful on that momentum, because in this thing, people are like, oh, let me short it at 7, but guess what? It blows right past 7 and jumps to 10. Like it's not my kind of trading. It's just a little bit too much for me there. Thoughts on Tesla for next week? Yeah, Tesla. So the quarter overall was great, but the run up into the quarter was not. It was just too strong, and it just really sideswiped a lot of people. A lot of people were saying Tesla 2000, Tesla 3000 on Friday. I'm like, okay, like we talked about it the live stream this morning of like, hey, listen, there was just too much emphasis on it just going literally to the moon. Tesla's a fantastic company. It's got a great product and everything, but the expectations got way too far ahead of it, and it just kind of literally fell off, and just now having a little bit more time to kind of maybe deal with some folks that are just wanted to get out of the stock, sell their calls, and just really kind of bring the stock down. We really saw that today, falling nearly 5%, $80 here, on having a really good quarter. But again, that whole run up 2 weeks prior to it, we really had basically what the move should have been. So Tesla's not hitting 3,000 tomorrow, okay, unless they come out with the vaccine and they come out with a fix to world hunger. So with Tesla, the overall trend is still somewhat intact. If you're trading it on a very intraday thing, the momentum between the 5 and 8 is slowing down, and particularly could come down to the 21, which is around 1378. Again, Tesla's had such a large run already. I think that it's time for some consolidation. We kind of put that out to our Patreon folks the other day of like, hey, Tesla wouldn't say it's like overweight or it's going to come crashing down, but it just needs time to rest. It really has run up too much into earnings, and now it just needs to kind of chillax and just take it easy here for a little bit before it makes its really next move higher. Again, with the overall market really getting hit today, it really didn't help on top of Tesla being really affected by that. How would you trade the incoming alien attack? I would go long all government missiles. Buy every anything that does with it has ammo or rockets. and I would go completely long Campbell's soup. Let's see here. I saw a couple other things. Sorry, the chat's going a lot really fast. Yeah, Lockheed Martin would be a good one. Yeah, let's look at Microsoft. I saw Microsoft come through. So Microsoft again, really great quarter, very strong with growth. But again, it just was the lack of the understanding of just tech really getting hit really hard today, and it was actually hit pretty harder overnight, but it's coming down to, we talked about this on the live stream yesterday on the special of the Microsoft, Chipotle, and especially Tesla earnings, that this could come down to 200-day, which is basically the 34 exponential moving average here, which is the orange line on the daily side, and that's really kind of coming to fruition. It's kind of holding the 1272 extension, plus or minus a couple pennies. That is still somewhat of a line, but we're really looking for that 34 to really kind of come in to kind of give Microsoft that support to the downside. Again, if we're seeing a lot more selling into tomorrow, normally don't like to see things settle on a Friday, which is sometimes very difficult because then people are sitting and very anxious come Monday, and that selling can sometimes continue. So it's going to be very important to see on how the overall market takes the next, basically trading today, into Friday, and then how it trades towards the end of the day on Friday, on how if the market can catch a break, if it can kind of start creating somewhat of a base here, especially with the tech sections. Greg B, thanks for joining, my friend. We're going to look at Apple, yes. So Apple, we kind of talked about our live stream this morning that we were a little bit concerned that it was down like $4 or $5 at the time, but then it really just started to bleed even more, and that's where my concerns came in, that it really broke through the 21, kind of similar to what overall Microsoft did, really breaking through the 20, and now kind of coming into around the 34, which is around 364 for downside support. Again, the parabolic SAR has switched. That hasn't happened for quite some time. Again, the quite some time being a couple weeks for Apple. So be mindful of that. We do have earnings coming out next week. So again, that could be a catalyst for some more volatility in the stock as well, moving forth with that. But you can see here, Apple on the daily side, it's been holding that 21 pretty severely and very well, and it was somewhat concerning to seeing it break here at the 21 exponential moving average, which is aka the yellow line there. So that was, I wouldn't say it's like to write home about, but if we're seeing another down day tomorrow with substantial selling and breaking even lower to where we're currently at, that would be concerning. Again, we talked about that with the NASDAQ ETF as well, that we might need to trim some of our overall tech section and tech heavy stocks away, maybe refocus that, maybe putting it into some pharmaceutical or some other sections in the market, aka a little bit more like a Costco or something that's outside of the tech industry, maybe like a Chegg, which is I kind of considered a tech, things like that, or maybe a Tractor Supply, which has done very well for us as well. The Dank Lord, yeah, Logitech has been a great stock for us as well. We have bought some really long dated leaps. On this one, it's kind of it's basically a tech / stay at home play for a lot of folks. It's really been holding that 5 and 8 exponential moving average it's like crazy. Now it's kind of coming down to the 8 here. It has broken the 8 before in the past, but it's made a pretty strong rebound from that. This thing can always come all the way down to 67 and it still would be fine with the overall trend the way we track it. It could even come down all the way down to 63 and it will still be fine with the overall trend. But assuming that they can go higher, they can see that the overall trend has been very strong. And stocks, I don't care who says what, stocks don't continually going up. A lot of folks want to kind of see a potential just trading sideways, catching our breath, kind of regaining some energy, slowing a lot of these heavy momentum stocks down, and just kind of catching a break and kind of start being able to analyze things again. Awesome. What is my predictions for AMD earnings? AMD is a long-term hold for us here, and it's up nice today. Again, it's due to the coattails of Intel. getting their lunch taken away by Lisa Su and company. It's really popping off. We were talking about it recently on trying to get above that $65 limit there, which will be taking some profits if it hits $65. Some of our profits come tomorrow if it does hit that level. Yeah, so Luke, I'm not going to be trading the weekly options that short out. So the weekly options that we're talking about that are mine are like leaps. So leaps are considered, well, the official term for a leap is basically over a year, but some of my leaps or some of my call options are in March of next year, which is like 180 some odd days, and then some are all the way out in September. So those are more of the longer term leaps, which I have a $65 and $70 calls all the way out there. Ronnie Mac, yeah, we can look at NVIDIA. So this one really kind of came down to the 21 as well. This is, again, something to look at. Again, this thing has had some hiccups in the past, but earnings is a little bit further away. Is it going to be on the same coattails as like an AMD or an Intel kind of thing? They're kind of in the same ballpark that we talked about, but they're a little bit in a different district. NVIDIA does a little bit more other things regarding instead of the Intel and AMDs being a key component in a lot of different devices. Intel really looking for that support around 400, literally. 400 needs to really hold. We've kind of been just really trading sideways for NVIDIA here for some time. Really not really breaking above that 423 level and just kind of hitting that wall, bouncing back and forth. Again, this is kind of what we're talking about, that potential of just kind of just trading sideways. Tech downtrend could drag AMD down, or AMD is up after hours at $64, so AMD is on its own planet. Like, I think my only concern with AMD right now is that it's going to be running up too much to earnings, and then earnings could be really good, but then we could see what happens to like a Tesla or Microsoft, where it kind of just sells off because of, hey, the stock ran up 20% in the last 2 weeks, so then the earnings, even though it was great, doesn't have much more room to run. Fisk Gamer, if there are expiring, generally want to sell them first hour or two when the premium momentum is the strongest. Use a high sell limit order to get into a high exit, first hour best exit. You can do that as well. Yeah, I don't do much of the intraday trading or day trading like that. I haven't read anything too much of the stimulus coming in August. It's basically the folks in DC need to get their stuff straight. Bob Joe, what do you think about HD puts? HD would be a hard one to short for me, honestly, because Tractor Supply came out and has had a monster quarter. Because again, everyone wants to play Farmer, or AK wants to play Mr. Gardener at home. So I think this is going to be a really large movement for Lowe's and Home Depot, and of course Tractor Supply were just reported today. This thing has been pretty strong here. Again, we're not talking AMD here. We're talking Home Depot, where you buy mulch, a shovel, and maybe some other building supplies or home stuff improvements. This is going to be a little bit traded different than the overall NASDAQ. This one is going to be a little more conservative in the sense it's not going to have to be super volatile, but it's still going to be connected to the overall market. So if the overall market gets dragged down by the techs can drag down a lot of the overall NASDAQ and S&P that could kind of get a drag or trading sideways for HD. With HD hitting an all-time high today, it looks like it would be hard for me to tell you to sell puts in it, to buy puts in it, but just be very careful at this one, because again, this one could easily run, and it's going to be not kind of really connected to what we saw today with the overall selling. Yeah, Intel did get get shot today. J&J is also a strong company. So J&J would be a company where if I wanted to sell some of my tech holdings and things like that, I would be putting it into like a J&J slightly, or even something like a J&J, or it sounds absolutely crazy. See, the crazy thing is, like, Alibaba was basically up today, even though you saw all the other tech stocks, the Amazons and things like that were just completely down. But this thing has just been like, what's going on in the market? I don't care. They're trying to go to the moon. So this one it was an interesting play as well. I want to see how this plays out tomorrow, without a doubt. How is Logitech so high? It's so high because you cannot. They make webcams, they make microphones, they make headsets, mice, keyboards, and everyone's working remote. Everyone's working from home. Again, most of the schools and a lot of the counties that I know here in Virginia are just going to be going full remote. So that's going to create a shortage on a lot of those basic supplies. Alright, Trader, Aaron, I have a bunch of Logitech calls on September 18th with a breaking news. Yeah, I think Logitech is this great little holding for. Yeah, AMD has been fantastic since Lisa Sur. Like AMD, so if you don't know, if you want to talk about story time, I used to trade AMD when it was $2, and like when I was trading AMD when it was $2, I was be trading it like 2,000 shares at a time. Imagine if I had 2,000 shares today and I held those $2 stocks. Like, those are the things that keep me up at night sometimes. Okay, chat just updated. Sorry. Let's see. Let's go ahead and look this. So Austin is asking, what do you think about JD? So JD is something I don't really, other Chinese stocks I really don't trade due to the regulations over there, honestly. But JD doesn't look too great as well. It looks like it wants to kind of go lower, but it's kind of holding around that 34 exponential moving average. The thing is concerning with this one, this is kind of showing that if those 5 and 8 starts crossing through the 21 and we're seeing some more selling pressure, we could be coming down to the 50-day here, which is on $50. If that can't hold, then that's basically bye-bye birdie, and it can go really far down. Bob Joe, how about Disney calls? Look. So Disney is actually one of our core holdings in a long-term stock portfolio. But this one, again, we kind of made this box here, kind of trading in this range. It's kind of been working out fairly well in the sense of it has not really broken above the $120 price target, or this basically where the 200-day exponential moving average lies here, and it's not really having the fortitude or the strength to kind of break above that. That it looks like it could continue to go, but we're seeing the parabolic SAR dots getting closer and closer to here. We're going to be coming into a junction here and basically see a potential switch and the parabolic SARs to go to the top here and really continue to push it down and not really break above that 120 to 121 level for Disney there. For calls, it's going to be a little bit risky unless you want to go super far out. On the weekly side, as long as we stay above the 115, we're looking pretty good. But that this could be, there's been a lot of damage here But with sports coming back and the parks slowly opening up with slow capacity, those are good signs for Disney, but again, have a very long-term horizon looking at it. Limitless life, yeah, we can look at space, yes. So this one does not really care what's going on in the overall market to an extent. We still have not, this is again, we did break above it, but we have not closed above that 50% retracement, which from the previous high to low, which is around 25.78. We really need to see this to come into fruition and really have the ticks close above it. We're still on the right path. We're still slowly grinding higher, but with earnings on the horizon, this could be kind of a very, I won't say risky, but it's a pretty large move into earnings, so there must be, I'm not going to say this someone that knows something or insider trading, but it's always a little bit scary for me and a worry sign that we're going in really strong into earnings. Why is F positive today? Why is F positive? It's that Bronco, man. It's that Bronco. That thing looks sick. I don't know why it's positive. I'm not going to completely make a story up. It doesn't matter. It's just the market makers. It's not a tech sector company. Maybe people think it's more safer than others. Maybe they're thinking it's a comeback. We'll see on how that overall works out. But we see here it's having some issues really break above that $7 price limit here, which is basically falling in with the 200-day exponential moving average and kind of just really having not the strength to continue breaking above that. We do have earnings coming out, looks like at the end, so next week as well. Really, it's actually looking fairly strong. It's been holding that 5 and 8 very well to 21. It looks really good, actually. Would like to see this really break above 7, and then we could really write home about it. But I think, like we talked about before, I think the people who invested into Ford initially, this really just gave too much of a negative aspect to the stock. So I think a lot of people are a little hesitant to see it break above 7 again. So there might be a lot of overhead pressure around that. We have not done Spotify yet, but we can go look at Spot. So Spot was one that was hit pretty hard today. It has not come down to the 21 here, so that's going to be the first line of resistance of being around $261 to the overall look at here for a particular slowdown or somewhat of a downside support here on Spot. If that starts breaking, we're looking to around 250. Again, a lot of these tech-heavy stocks have kind of made it these kind of pretty just trading sideways for the last week or so. There's really a lot of issues going on there. Will a tech crash tomorrow? I don't know. We'll see. Just be ready for anything and just don't put your emotions into it. Jason Lee, NIO, please. Sure, we can look at NIO. So NIO, like a lot of things, it really was on the coattails of Tesla. Didn't go crashing down as much as Tesla again, because they're going to have, of course, their own earnings. I don't see anything on the radar here yet on earnings for them, so I have to Google that. But we're getting somewhat of a, I don't like to draw these lines here, but we're getting somewhat of a wedge pattern here. Here, and then right here, basically here. Really looking for, you can draw these lines whatever way you want, but what we really want to look for is basically it hold 21 here, especially on a very, again, this thing has run up so much. See these large spaces here in the middle? Those are gap ups. Those gap ups are really significant for a stock. And if you have multiple gaps up, it only can gap up so many times until it runs out of energy. And we're really seeing that run out of energy here at the almost $17 limit. Then you see the TTM squeeze up here go from light blue to dark blue, which means the momentum has slowly come down. You see that the RSI strength has also come down with the volume oscillator as well. So there's not a interjecting of capital. There's not a lot of people running in here to buy this. That's why you see this kind of sell off here, gap down, and then really hitting the 21 hard and then bouncing up. Potentially could be hitting the 21 again, so around 1130 there. And then to the upside, we really need to see start breaking above 14.15, of course, then getting above those parabolic SAR, which is around $16. Boomers love Ford. Rock. So the reason why the S&P 500 is doing better than the Nasdaq. So again, S&P 500 is 500 different companies that are broken up into I think 11 different categories, and the tech section only is about I think 18 to 22% of the S&P 500. But if you look at a Nasdaq, it's much more heavily into the tech section. So that's why you see it down nearly well over 2.5%. Compared to an S&P 500, because again, all the tech-heavy names are really inside the Nasdaq rather than the S&P 500. S&P 500 is going to have your financials, it's going to have your McDonald's and things like that. There's not going to be many of those names inside the Nasdaq. And my chat just updated again. Thank you for that. Love AMD, yes. You're welcome, Jason. You're well appreciated. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. I really enjoyed doing this with you guys. Yeah, AMD's been strong. Looks like this. Yeah, it's definitely gambling if you're holding during earnings. It's like that crush can just be really bad. Again, with AMD, anything can happen with AMD. Like, I'm not saying it's going to go skyrocket to earnings and things like that, but now the only concerning thing is that it has jumped up so much in the past 2 days and kind of gave some of it back. But now in after hours trading, we're talking about at basically $64.30. That's going to be somewhat. It's a pretty heavy price target. So 65 was basically my initial price target if earnings was great. Now that's kind of basically has been met. So now earnings is a little bit more pressure on those numbers, so there could be some more capitulation, and we could see some selling as well, as we talked about for AMD. What do you think about Walmart? Yeah, let's look at Walmart. I haven't looked at that in the last couple of days. What is that doing? Yeah, so Walmart is like we talked about previously on the live stream. It's really broke past that $130 limit, and now it's just hitting a lot of resistance at that previous high. So that previous high basically, right here, is basically at the 133, 134 level. It's just constantly hitting this and just trying to break through. This is somewhat of a good pattern to kind of see after this super large move, just to have it trade sideways for a little bit. It's a good sign of consolidation here, kind of letting these longer dated moving averages like the 21 and 34 kind of slowly catch up, and to get a potential push higher. So the next level for Walmart be around 137 there. To the downside, support's going to be really short at 130, and then be around 127 for level 2 support there. Mr. Bear, I've been short Walmart for a few weeks now. Well, I don't think it's been working out, right, Mr. Bear, with this huge run up here? How did you combat that if you've been short for weeks? Greg B, can you check CHEX? If I can type here. I don't know what is that one, Greg? CHEX, am I looking at the thing? Oh, Qualcomm. QCOM, yeah. So we have QCOM as well. This thing kind of got hit today. It's actually one of the ones that I wanted to roll further out because it was getting a little bit, took a little bit more damage than I wanted. Basically, we talk about it took a little bit too much water on than I wanted. Really broke through that 21, but we were trading in a very tight range already. So this is also has earnings coming out as well to, next week. So this is going to be basically something that we're going to be keeping an eye on. This one has not like completely run off. So going into earnings, I kind of like it. Just I won't say like selling off into earnings, but it kind of just like, okay, it makes the level playing field somewhat good in the sense of like, hey, it's not going to have a huge run up, so it has somewhat of a fair understanding of what could be happening and what the overall market could be expecting. With this one, it's kind of really in uncharted territory here on the daily chart here, because it's kind of not in the 21 or 34. Really looking for on the $88 level to hold, potentially coming down to 87. This thing is a bit more volatile. This is a bit longer term for us as well. Again, we're really playing for that 5G movement. Could we see a lot more selling in Intel tomorrow? I think so, yes. I really do. I think that we could see a lot more selling because, again, so for instance, like I was just playing some longer, or not, like monthly options, and I sold like the 56 put. No, sorry, I sold the 57 put. That's where you can see that little limit here. And of course, we're trading up basically at 54. So we're basically all the way down here. That is not a good look. That's going to be a large gap down. So we're going to be at or below. We're going to put this a little bit lower to like 50. Let's do that. Like 52.80. If we can get really below that, that could be some dangerous territory. So we can kind of look here. There's another way of doing Fibonacci extensions. We can do Fibonacci retracement. So you go from the draw tab, and these are the extension tabs. So you do from the previous high to low, but then there's one more step. Then you go to the next high, and we can kind of start seeing where some potential downside support is. So where we're currently trading, this is just the Fibonacci retracements in reverse on those things. So looking for, again, that $52 limit, we're looking for potentially the $52.28. That's going to be the 50% retracement of those extensions. So that is very much likely to potentially to hold. If that doesn't hold, it could come all the way down to $49, aka $50 there for Intel. So that's going to be a lot of damage taken for that particular stock. Because again, the market move was basically like $1.50 or $2, and now we're well over a standard deviation move. So usually a standard deviation move up or down is pretty drastic. So we could see some further selling coming in tomorrow. So just be mindful of that. Will I be piling on and selling it short? No, I'm not going to be doing that. It's a little bit too risky, and it's just going to be moving really fast for me. I should do live streams. I do live streams as much as I can. Again, I still have a working gig. I do sysadministrative stuff for a smaller company here in DC, so it's hard for me to do completely live streams all during the day. You really think so, Fish? You think a lot of AMD is going to be going due to cryptos again? we'll see. What is the best stocks to short if we do crash? So normally I'm not going to be the one to short stocks or really just buy straight puts. It's usually if I'm really slow on it, I'm not a very fast executor of that, so I normally just kind of wait for the dust to settle, and I'm one of those guys that are just buying the dip, trying to find the bottom and kind of wait for to see how that plays out. The best stocks to short, again, this is numerous. Like, just watch what Apple does, and Apple's basically a market darling. If that continues to start going short, you start seeing what happens. Yeah, it's a good way to put it. Tesla could fall pretty drastically. Again, it has the most to lose in a sense of, again, but there's a long term would be definitely different. I think Trevor, what they're saying is why they're shorting. I think they're talking about potentially of just buying straight puts on a stock or the overall indexes. So Ether's gone back up, Ethereum. Nikola, we could talk about Nikola. That always brings a smile to my face. Thank you. So again, you can kind of see here what we're looked at, some price targets. I got a lot of I won't say flack, but I got a lot of crap and I got a lot of negativity on folks just like, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. Nikola's gonna be the next amazing truck company and things like that. I'm like, listen, you didn't watch the video properly, because I said I hope the company best, but the stock is just complete crap. Even though you can tie it to whatever the guy's saying and the company's promoting and or pushing out there, that's whatever. That's like, I'm not going to be the one gobbling that up and just continue to kind of believe some of the promotional marketing stuff. I'm the kind of guy that likes to see a product. I like to see and touch things. So we'll see how that overall plays out. But so where these figures are coming in, these are basically those extensions that we talked about. So the previous high, the Fibonacci extensions, previous high to low, and then the high again. And you look at these, basically the 3290 is that 50% retracement there. That could be easily met if we continue to see some selling, especially in here. And then easily could come down to the 618, which is around 2650 as well, to the further downside. Again, this really a lot of heavy, you're seeing a lot of red on the TTM squeeze here. RSI and volume oscillator are really signaling a lot of downside. It could bounce without a doubt. We could get a nice bounce tomorrow, who knows, but the overall signal is still just not a fun thing to go long it. Yeah, buying straight puts is not something for me as well. Like, it's just very difficult for me. Buying, normally if the market's already crashing, those puts premiums are through the roof, and you really just have to flip them intraday. And again, I'm not a fast person. I'm a pretty slow guy when it comes to trading markets. PFE, is that Pfizer? No, it's not Pfizer, is it? Yeah, it is. So we talked about this one as well. This is, again, another play on Pfizer, large overall pharmaceutical company. They are partnered with a lot of the particular on the sense of the cure, or not cure, the vaccine for the virus. Getting a lot of love here lately due to the fact of that really kind of popping through the $37 price target, looking for overhead resistance around 40, which we kind of see some overhead resistance there before. Really hard one to trade because, again, we're really just betting on the vaccine, and it's hard for me, to do that. It's very true. The premium on Nikola puts are basically through the roof, and it's not even worth it. It's very, very, very difficult to do. LMT, what is that? Lockheed Martin. So this one, it's been a nice steady eddy. We did ABUS again. I didn't have much to say to that. That's just, again, huge run up, potentially some FOMO in there, and a lot of folks, it's just going to be too much of a run up for me, not normally my trading style on going through that. So that, again, so with Lockheed, this actually looks pretty ripe for a nice little fib analysis here. So the previous swing high at 442 down to the swing low of 266. Seeing some very interesting patterns here. The 78.6 percentile move, which is around 403, has seen a lot of resistance. So that's basically what the next price target we could see for here, up there. And then the 618 is also basically where the 200-day exponential average is, which is a lot of support here. So with this one, we could just be seeing, we're going to draw a little box here. We love drawing these little trading range boxes. Basically, Lockheed Martin trying to stay in this box here and potentially see trade in around that the 78.6 and the 618 percentile moves there within that box. Trevor H, did you ever use the options wheel strategy? Not familiar with the options wheel strategy. Yeah, the options premium is way too high. High probability, low risk. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the wheel strategy. John, thoughts on SE? SE, I always forget what this is, but this one is really just kind of coming down. It's been on a super tear up here between that 5 and 8 exponential moving average, kind of hitting that 21 here, and this really trading sideways. The 34 kind of came into support. Looking to see this one kind of potentially consolidate, trade sideways slightly a little bit, and look for, if it starts breaking below that 34, that 50 days really going to come in, so 97 is going to be next level down. But if we start seeing this 5 and 8 cross through the 21, that could be a little bit of damage as well, and we could be taking on water from that, and really take some damage and potentially see that lows come down to 50. If you want to see these kind of start trading sideways to hold around 110 and potentially start grinding higher, maybe just letting these moving averages catch up just slightly to kind of get that pushed higher, to get that above the $120 limit. SPY could recover tomorrow as well. We could be seeing some trading sideways. We could see some lower lows. We just don't know. Again, I don't think we have a crystal ball here, or anyone does. We'll have to start seeing on how that plays out without a doubt. UAL, is that Delta? Or is that United? Sorry. It's United, right? So, it lost $9.31. Oh my god. That didn't... Oh, that's terrible. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. And it didn't go anywhere, right? Because I think a lot of people know that the government needs to come in to help these guys again, to the fact of, like, no one's flying, and if they do, it's just it's not going international. It's just going to visit grandma that's not doing well. It's very just as needed basis, and especially business travel has been cut down to next to nothing. Downside, I don't know. I don't know how much more it can get beaten up, to be quite honest. I just wouldn't want to put money into this because I'm more of a growth side of stocks and investing, and this doesn't scream growth to me. I don't know who Peter Stiff is, honestly. I have to Google that. COS Barron said Apple could fail. And I'm sure they don't have a crystal ball, right? Yeah, baseball did have their first game today with over expectations. So I think someone talked about some DraftKings earlier. Again, kind of hit a little heavy today, down 5%. It's really having a hard time breaking above that $38.20 here. Really looking for that push higher into that. The trend is still somewhat intact here. If it continues to hold above the $36, $36.17, that trend to 38 is still intact. Looking for to kind of break above that here in the next coming weeks or so. This could be coming down to at least to 34 as well, and getting some more downside pressure again if the overall market really just gets hit really hard. I'm too quiet on the mic. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have the volume on the YouTube video all the way up? I haven't heard that comment very well, a lot, on the sense of the mic being too quiet. NAT, oh, NAT is bringing back some fun times. So that's actually one of the videos that I did that I said I was shorting at $8. If you guys have been watching, I actually shorted around like $7, $8 on this stock, because again, this is a FOMO trade if you've ever seen it, and we shorted it with puts, and it just came tracking down, really crashed through the 21. I got a lot of crap on it because again, this hype train was all about the oil prices going to zero, actually going negative numbers for an instance. But yeah, it's been difficult. Perfect volume, okay. Yeah, I do know multiple people who have actually been hospitalized due to the virus, yes. And actually someone who passed. You think I'm fairly quiet as well? Okay, well, it's time to order a new Amazon mic, right? This is like the third time we kind of go through. Hey, Ken has a relaxing voice. I wish he was my supervisor. I'm just a pretty chill, easygoing guy. Just having a good time, just trying to enjoy life. Let's see here. So again, we can look at the futures market. The futures market is nothing really to write home about with the S&P 500. It's up just slightly being at 0.11%, so a tenth of a percent higher. Again, we're not talking a lot of volume here. We'll see on how everything kind of comes out to fruition tomorrow. We'll see on what can happen. Be ready for anything, to be quite honest. Again, let's go ahead and look at the SPY to kind of give a little bit of a recap since there's a lot of people have just joined here. So with S&P 500, what's kind of been in this trading range here, in lack of better words, between like the 320 320, 323 level down to like the $300 level, and it's kind of just bouncing around. Finally breaking out about 2 days ago, really breaking out, and we can see it not strong breaking out, but it's a little bit concerning when you start seeing it kind of come back, and you're like, oh no, we had all this strength and all this positive momentum going forth, and now it's just a kind of a lackluster day, and this hasn't been the overall fun effect of things. I do have a fan noise in the back as well. If it's very quiet, is that too loud? I actually have a fountain that I turn on sometimes to get in relaxing mode in the back, which I have to turn off. I do trade futures, but I don't do it very often, and that's the only thing I do day trade is futures. But not very often. I haven't ride the Metro in a long time, honestly, DC. I used to ride back in the day I used to ride the orange line and then the silver line where I moved. Yeah, definitely the futures market is a roller coaster, and if you're not playing, you have to play. I have to play the minis because that is just a lot of of emotion in a roller coaster on just seeing that play out without a doubt. Someone talked about TLT, so we can look at TLT. So we actually do have some TLT calls on. We'll see on how that overall plays out. Looking for TLT if it can continue going higher until tomorrow. Again, TLT, the TLT continues to print higher with the VIX printing higher tomorrow. That could be slightly concerning because it is a Friday and markets usually don't level off on a Friday. So that's selling. If there's a lot of selling between like 2 into 4 o'clock of the closing, we could see a lot potentially some selling into Monday. That's what we could be seeing happening. So TLT, the next overhead price target, it will be at, what is that, 170. I'm actually going to change that color. That's actually really flippin' annoying. It's too light for my eyes. Let's change it to a lighter color. There, that's better. So the 177 price target there is going to be the next one for the overhead resistance again. Again, that's really going to be on the comparison of the VIX going higher tomorrow, as well as the TLT and SPY has to kind of go the other direction. So if we start seeing the S&P 500 go higher and the TLT and VIX are going higher as well, that's going to be a little bit of a strange scenario, and we kind of need to wait and see on what really is going to be the forerunner, who's going to be winning, and things like that. Kelly D, mostly yes. So this is basically a very large bond ETF, and the bond TFEF is basically if you're not being able to make money in the overall equity markets, aka usually concerns about the dollar, concerns about growth for companies, people will go into the bond market. Yeah. Yeah, TLT is definitely very much on the radar as well. That's usually one that I've always been looking into. NIO, so we kind of did NIO. So this is one we're looking for potentially to the downside, holding the 1130 price target, and then looking for they could potentially trade sideways or stay above the $11.33. Starts breaking below that, we could see it come down all the way to about $10 or $9.50 there. To the upside, we really need to see trade sideways and start seeing these moving averages particularly the 5 and 8, start to level off and potentially curl higher. Fish Key. Is that one of those banks? You like the Fish? Were you the one who talked about Discover? This looks good. It's actually really trying to break out. I like this one actually. The 5 and 8 are trying to cross through the 21. This looks actually really strong, Kelly D. The 5 and 8 are below it, really trying to cross through it. We have a squeeze indicating volume zone oscillator and RSI are both looking to potentially print higher. Let me do a quick fib here. Yeah, so it's looking at the 31.2 percentile move. Again, it's a bank stock. It looks like I'm not saying it's going to go flying through the moon, but looking to like $13, $14 for the next overhead resistance there. Really looking for some overhead pressure around $13 there, going higher. So the 5-minute chart and the 1-minute chart is usually what thing I do not look at. So for me, I always ground myself to the daily and then the weekly chart. It's going to be something, the 1-minute and 5-minute chart are a little bit too scary for me. I normally don't do very much of day trading or really short-term trading in that sense of that. So the 5-minute, 1-minute chart really don't come into my trading workload, and it's going to be just too much drama for me, lack of better words. Daniel, can you explain what the Fibonacci retracements is? You talking about the retracements or the extensions? So the extensions are, these are Fibonacci numbers from this old person from back in the day. I think it was in the Greek or in Greece at the time, where they talked about these number sequences that you would see throughout nature and other different things, and they have seen it come into fruition on logos, to in nature, in the seashells and the way currents move, and it's just kind of in like a pattern that has been recognized a lot throughout history, and you see it form on the charts, and they've added to the charts, so you kind of see that really come into fruition here with those retracements being a lot of key indicators. So I have some ones really highlighted, which is the 618 and the 78.6 percentile move, and I should τι this one here as well. So we're actually going to turn the 127. We're going to make this one. What color is this? I like that color. That makes it nice and attractive for it to kind of come up there. The limitless, yeah, again, the futures are hanging on. Again, we're talking about at 10, almost 11 o'clock here at night. There's not really much volume going on. There isn't many markets open. You might see an influx around 2 or 3 a.m., I believe, in the futures due to the fact of Europe and China closing, I believe, and then you'll start seeing around earlier parts of the day, around 7 to 8 a.m., some more movement coming in, because you're going to start seeing a lot of the U.S. Folks are going to be getting up there. Nike. We can look at Nike. So Nike is kind of one that we traded here. Really just continue using this box here to be trading sideways. We like it. This is a great looking stock without a doubt. It's just kind of really just trading sideways. Like we talked about AMD, usually these stocks that are traded sideways for some time could get a lot of momentum and energy built up, and then looking for a particular pop higher or lower. This one in this case looks like it wants to, still looking for, potentially looks like it wants to pop higher to get above the 102 price target here. Who is it? Greg B. looking for that to kind of break out there, and then to the downside we're looking basically around 93 to 94 to the downside, and basically a lot of support coming in around 92.50, which where the 200-day exponential average lives. That being said, we've already had earnings, so there's nothing a large catalyst up ahead, so this is kind of just hanging out, looking for a potential. Again, people are going to be playing sports, people are going to be going to the gym. What are some catalysts for Nike to continue to grow and things like that? I think that we could see a better understanding coming overall. Like, Nike is still going to be dominating, and we'll see on how that goes. Yeah. With that being said, we can start looking again. Nike could be very much. I like these patterns, honestly, when they start trending sideways a little bit. It could be a little bit. You gotta have the patience and just kind of the wherewithal of, like, hey, this could be a very long time, aka what happened with AMD. Again, we can kind of loop it back around to AMD, where we kind of got rid of the box, but we've got into it literally on this move up, on this gap up. When it broke the 618, we got into it pretty long term, pretty heavy, and then we were just in it for months, just trading in around here, buying a little bits, mid bits here back when it hit the 618, basically the $50 limit, and just kind of traded sideways, and then boom, we finally got that push higher. And then, of course, today, after hours, it's up to $64. Hopefully it can continue going to 65 into tomorrow to take some profits there. Limitless DXY, that's the dollar index, right? Why is this looking all funny like this? Do I have to look on a minute chart? I don't want to do that. I don't know why that's not showing up properly. That's weird. Yeah, that's super strange, man. I don't see it there. Is that the sink or swim? Yeah, it's the think or swim, yep. We can look at NIO once again. NIO, we're talking about, it has to hold at 21 exponential moving average, where it's around $13.35. If it does not hold this, we could see some potential further downside to around $9.50. But with the overall market here and what's looking at here, with a lot of the Chinese sections, especially with Alibaba and NIO, they haven't been really affected to the overall market. Looking for a potential upside to get back up around 13 plus. So we can look at Amazon, really coming down hard today, the last couple of days, really hitting that 21 exponential moving average. Would love to see this hold this, honestly. I'm not going to sure if it's going to have the fortitude to hold it and then continue going higher. I think that this there's a lot of damage that was done to this. Like, we're almost in a trading range of Amazon as well. So basically around 3224 down to basically the $3,000 limit, and just trading sideways here. We have these magical purple enchanted line here to kind of give us some guidance, give us some direction, and basically just give us the fortitude to hold it around this limit. If it continues to hit, if it hits this and starts breaking through it, we kind of have that stop here basically at 28.96 to see if that damage can just stop and take that pain away. Intel's going to the moon, but in reverse. Any cryptos you like? I haven't traded cryptos in a very long time, Limitless. I haven't traded cryptos since February of. Well, actually, I still have Bitcoin holding it on, but I don't trade anything in crypto anymore. Actually, no, I don't think I have Bitcoin anymore. Actually, I take that back. What do you think about Apple? Could it fall to 360? Again, anything can happen. within the market. So just to know where 360 at. So 360 is basically here at a little bit below the 34. Again, anything can happen. I think you just did a fib from there. So you did a previous high from here to low. That's kind of where the 1272 comes in. So that's a good place. Honestly, you did a very good job on that. Looking for that could be some downside support if things continue going down. So we'll see how that overall plays out as well. Another thing that we can look at, I think this is going to be a little bit too drastic, is the retracements from the previous high to low to high again. You can kind of see here that some further retracements coming in around the 355. And then we're seeing here the 372 is basically what I was hoping for. I was hoping for 372 to 375 hold today, aka where the 21 lies. Didn't really get that. And now seeing it basically, if this can close tomorrow above here and not below where we're currently at, I think that'd be a pretty good stabilization in the market and not going to have a completely potential red day Friday into Monday. Bob looking at work, so Slack. Yeah, so Slack, if we traded this back in the past, again, we kind of have a box on that one too. Just kind of trading sideways here. Really looking for some downside support, basically at $30. As you can mention, that looks like a potentially good entryway, but if it starts breaking below at $30 and getting down to 29 to 28 or below, I believe that overall trend is somewhat just kind of like Dunzos. It's a hard one to say because it looks like it really wants to go lower because it's very heavy here. If this can open tomorrow and just continue going lower, I think that would be a little bit concerning for me to see unless it can hold that 200-day here. I love the product. I really do. We use it for work. It's absolutely fabulous. We'll see how it plays out. But looking for it to continue holding this trend. If it's breaking below it or out of it, you have to be very careful. So to the upside, we really need to see a break above $35. Again, that's a lot of movement for it to get up there. But to the downside, where it starts breaking below 30, basically it cutting down to the 200-day extension average. Oil companies, I don't know much about oil companies, honestly. Yeah, I know Schlumberger is reporting tomorrow. That's more of an oil refinery, so I think they might do just fine or okay with a lot of the pickups with the overall economy. So, but it is a good company to follow on to see on how everything's going out. Las Vegas Sands, like wind that we talked about previously as well, has been hit again due to honestly this the overall folks of just getting too far ahead of themselves. We don't have a vaccine, and it just needs some more help here. Looking for some downside support if it continues going down to around 43. So with this one, we can also do the Fibonacci extension. So the swing high, the previous swing high, and swing low to the high again. Let me make straight this line up here. Basically kind of broke through that 26 percentile move. Basically could be coming down to 40. Doesn't mean it's going to be coming down to 40, so just be mindful of that. That could be some downside support there as well for this Las Vegas Sands, the Concedo company. Again, earnings wasn't great, so that could be substantial downside support, more downside selling coming from that. No, I don't know much about real estate. I've bought all my houses. Well, I've took a mortgage out of them, but I haven't got into like investment properties or anything like that. Dean, we did talk about space. Space really needs to close above the $25.73, which is a key Fibonacci retracements we talked about from the previous swing high to low, which is the 50% retracement. So this one again is at 25.78. Really need to close above this to continue going higher. My only concern is that we are having earnings on the horizon, and these large moves into earnings, we can kind of see a little bit high move, so it could be a little bit dangerous. My man Brian in house with his purple crystal balls. What's up, man? Well, I've only bought 2 homes. I have a modest living. It's not all my homes. Yeah, my Hampton beach house. I'm gonna get on my helicopter and go fly out of Hampton and get a pizza. So who just asked how old I was? I'm 30. Oh my god, how old am I? 32. I'll be 33 this year. I've worked hard for everything I've got, though. Why did Zoom crash today? I think a lot of things, I won't say crashed. It just had a sell-off. If it was down, a crash would be something like substantial, like 10%. It's more like a correction's like 5. This is more just like a little blimp and just kind of shook some people out. With Zoom, this is a weird one I've been really just thinking about. We'll see on how this is looking at. So with Zoom, it's had this huge run up here. It's kind of holding the 21.34, which we're kind of somewhat used to with the moving averages, but it looks a little heavy to me in the sense of like the TTM squeeze and RSI and volume oscillator kind of looking heavy, meaning potential further downside. We don't have earnings on the horizons or anything coming forth. We can kind of see potentially the 5 and 8. It starts crossing the 5 and 8 moving averages, which is the purple and white line, cross through the 21. We could be seeing some potential further downside. Again, looking for the 238 price target there, to be very mindful of that. And we'll see on how that overall plays out. This was definitely one to watch because again, this is like Zoom is like the market darling of the overall work from home, stay at home environment. So are the schools and everything going to need the Zoom to be able to do the classes and things like that? I think there's going to be a lot of competitiveness around that, and see how much they can kind of round things up and get some more contracts and clients from that. Yeah, definitely it looks a little bit weak for me, but it's kind of in the trading sideways. There hasn't been the flashing yellow light or potential red light for me to stop and pump the brakes and go short this or sell some calls on this. Amazon's been holding that 21-day exponential moving average, so would I be buying call verticals in this? No, I would be most likely waiting to see how this plays out come particularly tomorrow, because again, if we're getting a lot more selling coming in tomorrow, that could be concerning to the overall market, and really just waiting to see what happens from there. Piton has had a nice move as well. It's kind of consolidating here. Again, once I think that people are still getting kind of used to being at home and looking at riding their bikes with the iPad attached to it. We'll see on how the moving averages kind of start trading here. Really looking at a tight pattern here, kind of coming off here a little bit. Starts breaking below 60, and the 5-8 are coming through it. That could be potential downside to around the $55, $56 limit there. DC, Ken, are you a GS13? I don't work for the government. Oh, Teladoc. What's Teladoc's ticker there, Trevor? I always forget that. It's a T-Doc. Is it just T-Doc? Yeah, there it is. Yeah, this one looks really strong as well. Again, this is basically a new way of people doing things that people were used to it. Now they're like, hey, what's the point of going to the office to get the most basic stuff done? I think there's still somewhat limitations behind it, but I think it's just going to continue going higher. It's a newer technology. It works great. I've used it before, so I'm satisfied with it. With the stock, it's showing, again, just kind of similar to what we just looked at with Peloton or these stay-at-home plays. They really have been kind of getting some some pressure from above, again with that parabolic SAR, which is those little purple dots, kind of pushing it on the overall stock. We can kind of see that potentially being a little bit of a ceiling of resistance to really break through it. But if this continues to trade sideways, we could be seeing, again, earnings on the horizon, so be mindful of that on Teladoc. Last couple times it kind of hit and miss here on some quarters here. Really jumped on that one. Really kind of failed on that one due to whatever reasons. But yeah, that definitely looks pretty interesting as well. It's kind of had this large move already, so there's maybe some other sections I would rather get into. I think that this is could be just trading sideways for a little bit. I wouldn't be buying too much of it into earnings because you could never know what happens into earnings. Miller, how about PLL? Yeah, is this like a rumor that I've heard about this multiple times? You never know with this. Like, I think that this I don't really trade on rumors and things like that. This is going to be a little bit too speculative for me. It hasn't been performing well before the virus, and it hasn't been performing real well. Like, what's the story here? Like, it's a very interesting looking stock. I don't know. Like, it's just been kind of blah. There's no growth in it. I want something with growth. Yeah, so the virus definitely gave Teladoc it just basically increased its growth substantially due to the fact of, like, hey, guess what? This might have been really taken over 5 or 6 years from now, but now it just came faster. Instead of happening in 5 or 6 years from now, it just happened within 5 or 6 months. Max, is those dots that you see on my charts, those are the parabolic SAR. So you can right click it, so it's the parabolic SAR, and they're at 0.02 and 0.2 the settings. Thank you, Fish. You take it easy, man. Sweet dreams. Max, have you heard of LO? What is this? LO, what is it? RL. I haven't, but this looks interesting. I don't know what they do. So what this looks at here again, so looks like it was basically doing okay before the virus, and now it's kind of like lackluster. I'm not sure what they do here. Max, if you can kind of give me a quick sentence what it does. But it's kind of like not performing too hot here. Really looking at even pre the virus, it has not really broken above the 200 days, so not really a big fan of that. Okay, interesting. Yeah, we can do Facebook, and let's do Dow Jones. Hertz. I'm not gonna touch Hertz there, bro. Get that out of here. Get out of here. Is HRTZ? That's Hertz, right? Canadian's 5G satellite operator. Okay. Yeah, for 5G, I'm doing a lot of QCOM. Dow Jones is Wing. Is that Wingstop? Oh, that's bringing some memories there. Is that Wingstop? Yeah. Oh, Wingstop. Whew, man, I traded this sucker when it first came out. This is like way back when I bought this when it first came out, like $20-$30. Sold it for a nice double. I had some stock. Yeah, don't tie yourself up too with the futures. Again, futures are going to be moving out, run plus or minus. The thing is, what I would like to see tomorrow, what my perfect scenario would be tomorrow would be, we're down a little bit, maybe another % or so, but then we slowly grind higher. I don't want to be up extremely high and then come crashing down for the rest of the day. That would really just kind of continue that wave of momentum into Monday. So I kind of want to be down in the morning and then slowly grind higher. So with Wing, this is just bringing back memories. This looks super strong, honestly. This is the 5 and 8 really bounced hard off the 21 here and looking really strong. Had a super long wick here, which is again somewhat concerning in the sense of like, hey, what happened? Why did it come back so much? But this looks really strong here into earnings. The only thing is, yeah, it is coming to earnings, so I have to be mindful and be very careful of not literally putting all my eggs in one basket and just buying this all tomorrow. But this looks fairly strong here. I like this actually a lot. I'm gonna actually add this to my my list. Thank you. I haven't traded that sucker in forever. Bring back some egg. Can you beat the S&P 500 on returns? The last 3 years I've had, and that's the last 3 years is when I've come the most profitable trading. I've been trading for many years, probably on and off, maybe a total of 10 years, and a lot of those years, 7-8 years, were just a lot of just headaches, a lot of losers, and just a lot of learning experiences. I wanted to do Facebook. Someone asked about Facebook, right? So Facebook is something we actually wanted to get into. It's having a lot of overhead resistance at the 1272 extension. Again, due to the overall kind of a market correction sell-off here that we've had just today, kind of broke here the 21. It's kind of coming into the 50-day here, which we've seen previous support at. We've kind of seen that with that really swing of that boycott with a lot of people leaving and ads, things like that. It's just kind of bouncing off here, looking for downward support around the was that 230. If it starts breaking 230, that could sell off pretty hard and potentially down to 225, and then potentially down to that low around 205 there. That being said, we can see that again, those are just the downside scenarios. The upside scenarios, like we need to start seeing that 5 and 8 not cross through the 21 and kind of starting to see this kind of trade sideways, maybe build a base here. Again, it's going to be hugely relied to on the overall other tech sections, tech companies as well, going forth. So again, the NASDAQ overall, if that goes down, it's going to take a lot of the other techs down as well. What do you think about Planet Fitness with gyms closed? Yeah, so Planet Fitness is the public one. What's the? I think it's the one that I always see around is the other one. It has earnings on the horizon, so I'm a little concerned about that. It's well below the 200-day, not always a great sign there. It's below the 21. It's kind of building somewhat of support around $54, $55 there. Potentially, if there's breaking below that, we could see some further downside. But as of right now, support's around $54. Keeping on a very short leash, needs to close and break above the $59 to $60 level there. If you just woke up on January 1, bought Tesla at $19, that would have been great. VIX, what about the VIX? Is the VIX... So the VIX really needs to break out higher than today, and it really needs to break above that $29 level. So we're going to actually put an alert out here. So when I go to sleep in like an hour or so, we'll see. Yeah, 24-hour fitness. That's the one that filed for bankruptcy. Thank you. First breaking above that, then again, it's got to break above that with like during market hours and see that really strong sell off. Josh, what's up, man? What's up, man? Thank you about FDX. What is FDX? I have no idea what this does. First Trust Exchange Traded Fund to consumer. You're looking on buying 40 to call December 18th. So let's do a fib here. That's interesting. I think that's a pretty good play there. You're playing it smart. You're playing it. You give yourself plenty of time on that call. That's going to be very important with that. We'll see how that plays out. So again, that's basically where it lines up with the 78.6 percentile move. That's where the basically $41 target is. It has been slightly grinding up here between the 5 and 8 very well. Did not sell off crazy like other things that we saw here. The 21s crossed through the 34. We're above the 200-day parabolic SAR below the chart. It looks really good. So I think it's a pretty good trade there, honestly. But be mindful that we could peter out here. We kind of see here some overhead resistance here at $40 exactly, where we kind of had resistance before. So we could kind of hit this level, kind of trade sideways, potentially come back down to 38, 37, trade sideways some more, and potentially go higher. Johnny, I'm sorry that you lost your TSLA life savings. I'm sorry. Recap on. I'm gonna recap Apple, Microsoft, and then probably gonna call it a night because I need my beauty sleep, boys and girls. Apple is going to be, again, the market darling. It's going to be a super strong sense of what the overall market could be doing, again, especially in the NASDAQ and the tech sections. Really needed to hold the 365 tomorrow. If it closes below the low of today, we could see some further selling coming into Monday. Because again, markets usually don't level off on a Friday, especially if we get a lot of selling into the last 90 minutes to the last hour into the close. We could be seeing a lot of selling coming into Monday. Bob Joe, I do post the live streams. I do as well, yeah. So with with Apple, again, downside support basically here. Wanted to close above the $375 or where the 21 is on the daily side to get that potential to get that positive more reading there. With Microsoft, kind of is the same scenario. We've kind of hit some lows through the 21, looking for downside support around 200, 201. We'll see on how that could play out. And tomorrow, looking for a potential bounce. Really want it to stay above the 1272 extension, which is around the 204 to 205, which would be great for this trend to kind of stay intact and kind of just trade sideways. And we'll see on how that overall plays out as well with Microsoft. A lot of these are going to be basically in a very tight trading range and seeing this pattern really play out and kind of wait for the next ball to drop or the next balloon to take us higher. Who knows? We don't know, right? We don't have a crystal ball, so we just kind of have to wait and see what the market gives us and kind of play off that. David D, what's up, my friend? GLD, we'll do GLD for you. So GLD gold, we're really looking at the potential price target to get above. If it can get to 185, that would be absolutely fabulous if you're going to be long gold. That's the previous high that we've had way back in 2011. So looking for this to continue going higher. We are seeing multiple gap ups, which could be a sign of slowing down. We are hitting the slightly RSI overbought here on this particular the ticker here, which is sometimes an indicator that it could go higher maybe for another 2 or 3 days and then kind of level off. So it really needs to prove itself a lot here. Can it go all the way through 185 by tomorrow? I don't think so. Something really drastically needs to happen, but again, with the if we start seeing a lot of volatility coming tomorrow with the VIX spiking up, really going past 30, maybe hitting 32, 35, I think gold and TLT can continue going higher as without a stop. I need to do a purple line. Yes, we need to draw some more purple lines there, Brian, without a doubt. Always inverse Kramer. What's my favorite indicator? Fibonacci retracements. Can you look at Visa? Yeah, we'll look at Visa because we actually own some Visa. So this has kind of been in a very trading range as well. AK, if you've watched the channel for a couple times, we really talk about these boxes. These trading ranges really been tight in here. Bought some, sold some puts, I believe, in this. It's been in a very long squeeze as well, looking for this to potentially break above the 202 level. If it doesn't, downside support's really going to come in around the 186 to 187 here. Again, earnings on the horizon, so it could be kind of slightly of a crapshoot. We'll see how that overall plays out in the market, and seeing that again, we're really just kind of waiting for this to kind of have earnings because we've been in a very tight trading range, and we'll kind of see what happens there. Anthony, I can't end on that. I gotta take Anthony's question here. Any thoughts on OPES? Then we'll call it a day. We'll have to end on the great Malone here. Okay. Ooh, what is this right here, dude? Oh, did I write this right? OPS. I don't know what this is. This looks like downside support around $11.30. I don't even know. This is like, oh, it's a special acquisition. Is this one of the SPACs or something? Is this a SPAC? Let me Google this. Oh, is this the BurgerFi thing? Ah, okay. I see what this is. So this is what the BurgerFi was supposed to come into, right? Am I understanding this right? Yeah, this has kind of got hit really hard. I'm guessing the deal didn't go through. Okay. So that, yeah, it looks like it got hyped up quite a bit. Really just traded sideways, and then that came really far down. Don't like to see this pattern, but it looks like it kind of came back where it has been slightly. Not too familiar on BurgerFi. I think I've had their burger. They're actually pretty good. They're the ones that make the they put their initials on the burger bun itself. I think that's what they do. Yeah, we got a lot of food joints. We talked about McDonald's. We talked about Wingstop. We got BurgerFi. We have all these other companies. We talked about food. It's been a great thing. We talked about Beyond Meat. Five Guys burger. That's delicious. Love Five Guys. I wish I could buy Five Guys stock. But Anthony, for this one, really it starts closing below $11.30. Would be slightly concerned again. That's where the 200-day exponential moving average come in as well. So just be mindful of that. Guys, on that note, you guys have a wonderful day. We'll see on how the market opens up tomorrow. And again, don't do anything crazy. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Tomorrow is a Friday, so we'll see how the overall market opens. Just to kind of give you some words of wisdom before we head off, we really don't want to see the market I don't want to see the market crash because I'm not completely short. It's a overall play in the sense of what I would like to see play out, what my scenario would love to be is we kind of open up lower tomorrow, but then continue to grind higher into the close. That's basically what I wanted to see happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that's what I would like to see and how things would play out. Again, guys, thank you again so much for watching. This is Ken from the Dyslexic Investor, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.